What if I told you the maps being drawn in war rooms right now aren't new? What if they're actually 150-year-old blueprints being brought to life with fire and steel? Look, as we watch the sky over Tehran turn orange from these strikes today, March 14, 2026, the media tells us this is about regional stability. But let's have a real conversation, friend to friend. This isn't just a modern fight. It's the final stage of a project that started way back in the 1800s. From the old colonial offices in London to the Fayha, Greater Israel maps, we see ministers wearing on their lapels today. The goal has stayed the same, breaking apart Muslim power from the Nile to the Euphrates. Tonight, we're repealing back the polite political talk to show you the real war being waged against us. Most people think this all started with the 1948 war. That's just not true. We have to go back to the 1880s. While our grandfathers were still living under the Ottoman Empire, groups in Russia called Hovevei Zion were already planning how to move into Palestine. In 1896, a man named Theodor Herzl wrote a book called The Jewish State. Here's the thing, Herzl didn't even care about religion. He was an atheist. He just wanted a piece of land to build a European-style colony. He even looked at places like Argentina or Uganda. He only picked Palestine because he knew he could use religious stories to get people excited and get Western governments to pay for it. To these early planners, the Muslims already living there were just in the way. In August 1897, Herzl gathered his followers in Bâle, Switzerland, for the first Zionist Congress. He wrote in his diary that day, "At Bâle, I founded the Jewish state." He knew it would take time, so they set up a bank called the Jewish National Fund. They used this money to buy land from rich, absentee landlords who didn't even live in Palestine. This let them kick the local Muslim farmers, the fellahin, off the land they had worked for hundreds of years. The Ottoman Sultan Abdul Hamid II saw this coming. He famously told them he wouldn't sell even a handful of the soil because it belonged to the whole Ummah. But the Zionists were patient. They waited for the Ottoman Empire to get weak. The real stab in the back happened during World War I. The British told the Muslims, "Help us fight the Ottomans, and we'll give you an independent Arab kingdom." We believed them. But while we were fighting, the British and French were secretly cutting deals to divide our land like a cake. This was the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Then, in 1917, a British man named Arthur Balfour wrote a tiny 67-word letter to a wealthy banker named Lord Rothschild. This became the Balfour Declaration. Without asking a single person living in Palestine, Britain promised the land away to the Zionist movement. Think about that. His Majesty as government view would favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Why? Because Britain wanted a loyal guard dog in the Middle East to protect their trade routes to India. In that letter, they didn't even call us Palestinians or Muslims. They just called us existing non-Jewish communities. In our own homes, we were treated like guests who didn't matter. From 1922 to 1948, Britain ran Palestine under a mandate. They acted as a shield while Zionist militias like the Haganah grew strong. When Palestinians tried to stand up for themselves in 1936, the British crushed them, disarming our people while training Zionist squads. Then came 1948, the Nakba, or the catastrophe. This wasn't just a war. It was a planned cleanup. They had a 27-page military document called Plan Dalit. It gave soldiers clear orders: surround villages, set fire to homes, and plant mines in the rubble so the people could never come back. Militias like the Irgun and Lehi went from village to village, forcing 750,000 Muslims and Christians out. Over 500 villages were simply wiped off the map. Villages like Deir Yassin Lida and Ramel. This was based on an idea called the Iron Wall, the belief that they had to hit the local people so hard that we would eventually just give up and leave. After 1945, Britain got tired and handed the job to the United States. Since then, the U.S. has poured billions into the region to keep that iron wall standing. But look at what's happening now in 2026. This is the Greater Israel phase. Modern ministers are showing maps that swallow up Jordan, Lebanon, and parts of Iraq and Saudi Arabia. This isn't a theory. They are wearing these maps on their uniforms. They are hitting Iran today because Iran is the only big power left that refuses to let them take over the whole region. They are even talking about the Third Temple. They've imported special red heifers from Texas for a religious sacrifice they believe will let them take over the site of Masjid al-Aqsa. They tell the world they are fighting for survival, but their own maps show they are fighting for a kingdom that doesn't have a place for us. This is the story they don't want you to hear. It's a story of secret letters, broken promises, and stolen land. But we have to remember, the story isn't over. They might have the fancy drones and the backing of big powers, but they can't kill the truth. We are 1.8 billion people. We stand with Al-Aqsa, and we stand for every inch of our land. They think they've won because they have the weapons, but history shows that justice always outlasts the oppressor. The question is, what will we do with this truth? Stay strong, keep your eyes open, and stay united. This is Power Dissected.